Welcome to a 6-minute sermon. In 6 minutes or less, I'm going to share some good news about Jesus with you. You can see that I'm dressed in a brightly colored shirt. I got this shirt when I went on a trip to Liberia, Africa, where I met people who looked different than me, spoke differently than me, ate different foods than I ate, but they worshiped God immensely. I was in a different place, in a different foreign land, but saw what it meant to worship God. This morning we're going to be in Matthew chapter 2, and we're going to see that the Magi came from a different place, from a different language, from a different culture, but they came to worship Christ. Matthew chapter 2, verses 9 through 11. After they had heard the king, the Magi went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went off ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now the Magi had traveled a great distance to see this special ruler. And although they were astrologers, which interestingly was a forbidden religion to the Jews, there must have been something about their desire for truth that God recognized, and God showed them the way to the truth. And they made that trip. Interesting that the Jewish leaders who said they were looking for the Magi ignored. Now the shepherds had seen the angel choir. They had gone to see the new baby born, and then they spread the message to everyone, but the Jewish leaders didn't listen. The Magi came from a faraway place and worshiped Christ. They came to worship. And what I know is that worshiping God begins with the desire to honor God. What worship is not listening to the latest, the newest worship song on repeat until you get that nice tingly feeling or your hairs stand on the end of your arm. That's not worship. Worship's not coming to church hoping that we sing the right song so that you'll get that nostalgic feeling about whatever life used to be. That's not worship. And for me, worship is not trying to craft a sermon so that people will come to church and feel like they've really been provoked to think, they've really been motivated to learn something new, and now they can go back and tell their co-workers that their pastor is some great preacher. That's not worshiping God from my end either. The Magi brought treasures to Christ. They did not bring their leftovers. There was no expectation when the Magi left their house that they would receive personal benefit from this trip. They came to worship the Messiah, and then they returned home. The Messiah that they found was different than the Messiah they were looking for. They went to the palace to find the king, but they ended up at a manger. They ended up somewhere that they did not expect, but they still worshiped. The other thing is that the Magi worshiped by taking a long journey away from the comforts of their own home at great expense to their personal finances and wealth. The Magi's worship was not like self-help or self-invaluating, self-validating. It wasn't that kind of worship. The one purpose of the Magi was to go and worship the new Messiah. I wonder how many of us, when we are faced with a sign from God that He wants to take us to a place to worship Him, somewhere in our lives, maybe not a physical place, but He wants us to grow or develop to a new place. That place to get there would cause discomfort, might cost us personal wealth or dreams or goals, I wonder how many of us would make the effort to worship God. I endure school because it makes me smarter. I endure work because it gets me money. I pursue promotion because it makes me more powerful. I do all these things because I'm honored. I wonder what it would look like if I lived my life so that God would be honored. That is worship.